You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
ESPN, they went ahead and tried their best to nail the swing game on each top 25 team's schedule. And the one they picked for LSU was very predictable, and I cannot disagree with it more. So we won't bury the lead. ESPN tabs the swing game on LSU schedule as the opener at Clemson, August 30th. And while, again, I understand it is a very important game, it is a game that we all want to see LSU win because they have not won an opener since 2019. You are 0 for your last 5, and Brian Kelly specifically is 0 for his last 3, and it's been the same things that have really hampered you in that. And we've talked plenty about how LSU has taken the different approach this year, and they've put a lot of emphasis on it, and it makes a lot of sense to tab that as the game, right? But the opener, I will never call that a swing game because you have 11 more games after that. And in a playoff era, especially an expanded playoff era, you have more margin for error. Hell, you could go back to 2014 when it was just a 4-team playoff. Ohio State lost the second game of the season, but they didn't lose the rest of the time. They won the Big Ten. They end up getting in. They win the whole thing. LSU, just look at a year ago. The opener, we put so much emphasis on that game a year ago in previewing LSU, USC. And man, you have to have this, right? And that was even in the first year of an expanded playoff to 12 teams. And LSU lost that game by 1 possession. You know what? That didn't swing LSU season. The game that swung LSU season, looking back at it now, was October 26th at Texas A&M. That's the one that did it. You went into that game with first place in the SEC on the line. You were heading into a bye week, knowing exactly what you'd be playing for in the month of November. You had a 10-point lead in that game, and you blew it in the second half. And that ultimately swung your season for a lot of different reasons. Number one, you were exposed against a running quarterback. You had to play Alabama the very next week. But even losing the opener, you were right there in lockstep, late in October, heading into your second bye, playing for first place in the SEC West. And if you win that game, you have 4 weeks left with 1 loss. But you didn't. And that ultimately swung your season. And something similar is going to happen this year for LSU. It's not going to be Clemson. And there's a couple reasons why. Look, I'm not saying that if LSU wins that game, it can't set the tone. And man, it opens things up a little bit more for you if you get that one out of the way with a W. But it's not going to swing the year. It's a non-conference game. I have two games that I look at that I say, okay, that's where you could start to see LSU season swing. And I operate this as someone who believes LSU is going to lose to Clemson in the opener. So I start this conversation with LSU at 0-1. You're obviously going to be at least 1-1 when you meet Florida, but that's not it. For me, the first game that swings LSU's schedule is September the 27th at Ole Miss. The home team has won 5 straight in that series. Now, while Vaught Hemingway hasn't been a complete house of horrors for LSU, I mean, the last time you were there, it was just a shootout, and they made one more play than you did. You were Chris Chris Hilton's fingertips away from winning that game too. But the home team has won the last 5 in that series. And when you look at LSU, I think they're 3-1 going into that game. Ole Miss is likely undefeated. Ole Miss, their first 4 games are Georgia State, at Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane. 3 out of those 4 are at home. Yes, Kentucky beat them a year ago. Fine. That's a legitimate revenge spot, and I just do not expect that to happen to Ole Miss again. You're looking at teams that would both be 1-0. That's got a lot riding on it potentially there in the early part of the season. So Ole Miss would be the first one, both for SEC and playoff for both teams. And if you're LSU, you can get over that hump and finally break the trend that you've seen of the home team winning that game. That moves you into 4-1, heading into your first bye. And then you have made it through the early part of your season, and you look at games against South Carolina and on the road at Vanderbilt coming off of your bye. Both games that you will be favored in and both games that you should win. And if you get over that Ole Miss hurdle, that would put you at 6-1 heading into your other swing game. And it's the one that swung your season a year ago, and it's Texas A&M at home. That's a game that LSU must win. To know what you're playing for in November. It's in the same exact spot that it was on the season on the schedule a season ago. Even if LSU loses that game to Ole Miss, you still just have one SEC loss. Texas A&M, while I think the Ole Miss game is important and does provide a little bit of a swing, Texas A&M is the game. Because you're either going in there as a 2-loss team, but only 1 in the SEC with still plenty to play for, or you're going in there undefeated in the league, playing for first place the same way you did a year ago. And Texas A&M, if you look at their schedule, should have no issue outside of Notre Dame. Texas A&M, their first 2 are layups. Then they're on the road at Notre Dame. They will probably lose that football game. But then their next 3 are at home against Auburn, Mississippi State, and Florida. And everybody is really high on A&M potentially being that team to take the next step. I can't definitively sit here they beat Auburn. They definitely beat Mississippi State. Florida, okay, that's interesting, but they get that game at home at Kyle Field. Then you go on the road to Arkansas. A&M beats Arkansas all the time. It's very real that they could also be 6-1 coming into this game against LSU. And why it's of the utmost importance that I look at this and go, man, you can't let that one get away, is because you talk about a streak where the home team is dominated. The home team has won the last 8 games between LSU and Texas A&M. LSU has not lost in Tiger Stadium to Texas A&M since the Aggies joined the league. And that's a game that I look at and go, man, that's the one, even more so than Ole Miss, that swings your fortune this year, because it's set. You get it. First of all, you get it at home where you've dominated them and where just the home team's dominated the series as of late. It could very well, again, for the second year in a row, have first place in the SEC on the line. And after that, you go into your bye, Alabama on deck, and you know what you have the rest of November. It's in the same exact spot as it was last year, and it swung last season. And I think both teams could be on a collision course again. So for me, it's A&M, but I throw Ole Miss in there as the caveat. Because you could be a 1-loss team, you beat A&M, a 1-loss team in conference, you beat A&M. You go into your month of November where you have to go to Alabama, but you get Arkansas at home, and then Western Kentucky, and Oklahoma after that. You keep your margin for error in November. And you might ask, okay, well, what about Florida? Like, why is more attention not being played to Florida? Man, if you lose to Clemson, Florida coming in here in September, that just flips everything on its head, right? You lose that one, and your margin for error is gone the rest of the way. And you're right, it is. I don't expect LSU to lose that football game. LSU has not lost back-to-back games against the Florida Gators since 2008 and 2009. They have not lost at home to Florida since the Hurricane Matthew game in 2016. And LSU largely has dominated that series as of late. Your only losses have come in Gainesville since that 2016 game, the Hurricane Matthew game. You lost to them in Gainesville in 2018. You lost to them in Gainesville a year ago. Other than that, LSU's won them. What about South Carolina, Musso? That's, right there. It's at home. You're coming off of a bye. You have lost to South Carolina twice in your entire history. South Carolina has not won in Baton Rouge since 1994. Those are games that I just look at. I think, for one, LSU is the more talented team than both of them, and both of them you get at home. I expect LSU to win those games. Could you slip up and drop them? Sure. But for me, it's Texas A&M. That is the swing game of LSU season. Just like it ended up being a year ago when a lot of us didn't really look at it that way. We were all focused on Ole Miss. And Ole Miss swung LSU season for sure a year ago. Winning that game in overtime at home was the reason you were in the position you were in to face Texas A&M with everything on the line. But ultimately, when you get to that point in the season with what could be on the line and knowing what you need left in November, Texas A&M, for me, that's an easy call. The Aggies, that's LSU's swing game here in 2025.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.